Hello creators, welcome back to another Paper Pumpkin Alternates video. In this video we are putting together the February 2019 Grown with Kindness kit, and I've decided to make two alternate projects. I really loved this month's kit, and it was hard for me to cut up the pieces and put them into alternate projects because I really just wanted to make the cards that were included in the kit. However, I sucked it up and I did it. So I'm sharing with you some of the alternate projects I came up with. So I'm taking a piece of the gray paper that is a card mat for one of the cards, and I cut a small strip off, and I'm doing very narrow banner cut edges, and I'm going to use that to stamp my sentiment on. I'm going to stamp the U in the fresh fig color that was included in the kit. However, I am using my old style classic Stampin' pad because I do like to save my Stampin' spots. Not sure why I still haven't used my collection of spots yet, but I just kind of like saving them. I'm kind of weird. You really want to make sure you use them because they will eventually dry up, but I still have most all of mine tucked away in an old paper pumpkin box. I'm using some of the labels that were included in the kit behind my sentiment piece, and I think that this looks really nice and it gives it a little bit of extra layering and a couple more pops of color. When I started making this card, I didn't really have a design in mind. I just kind of went with it and started to play to see what would happen. I took one of the basic black card bases and I folded it inside out, so the Whisper White was on the outside and the basic black was on the inside. And I took these plus symbols, these little stamps, and I just randomly stamped the background all over. And I went ahead and took the small flower stamp and I stamped that 3 times. With this first alternate project, I really wanted to try and only use the supplies in this kit, and I didn't include or add any other additional items. I used only what was in the kit, with the exception of scissors, of course, my snips. So I'm using the glue dots as my main adhesive, and I'm putting that onto the back of my sentiment piece so that I can put them down onto my little labels. I really think that this technique of layering up these label pieces is really fun. You get a couple different pops of color without being too busy, and I really like how I was able to build and pop up the last piece onto my card base. I think it really made it stand out. And I kind of adapted what Paper Pumpkin was suggesting in this month's kit with the layering of these label pieces. I really enjoyed how they did theirs, so I wanted to kind of do a variation of that. Now I'm taking the included black baker's twine and I'm wrapping it around a couple times and tying a knot before I tie a little bow. I'm also going to secure that bow in place with a mini glue dot that was included in the kit. And here I'm just kind of fluffing out the thread or the baker's twine a little bit so that you can kind of see the separation and it kind of looks a little bit more interesting. And there we go, secured it with that glue dot. Now I'm going to kind of get my placement and see where I want to put it onto my card base. And we're popping that up with those included dimensionals. I'm snipping off the edges of that twine because when I was pulling on them to get my bow to look right, they kind of frayed the edges a little bit. So I just wanted to clean that up. And now I'm popping this with a little bit of bling with the included gem rhinestone little guys that was included in this month's kit. And I'm getting out another stamp that coordinates with the U sentiment, and I'm going to stamp that again in the fresh fig color down in the lower right hand corner. And I liked this separation. I thought it was nice to have the second half of the sentiment stamped in the lower portion of the card. So for the inside of the card, since it was dark with that basic black, I decided to use one of the photographs that were included in this kit that had plenty of blank space up at the top so that I could write my sentiment, or I could even stamp something at the top of this picture. And I just liked that it gave the inside of the card a little extra oomph, something that I don't normally do. But I think it turned out really nice. I was really happy with how it looks. And now moving on to the second alternate that I put together for this kit. I wanted to do something a little different, and I know that I wanted to stamp a lot, and I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. I did attempt to stamp the cup that had the succulent in it, and I must have been having an off stamp day. Yes, it happens to everybody, because I just could not for the life of me get it to stamp the way I wanted it to. I stamped it 4 times, colored it in twice, and it just wasn't working for me that day, so I decided, you know what, put the stamp away and try something else. So I went ahead and took a whole bunch of different stamps, and I incorporated some new colors. So I have the Fresh Fig Stampin' Write marker, as well as the Lemon Lime Twist Stampin' Write marker. I also grabbed my Mint Macaron Classic Stamp Pad, as well as my Basic Gray Stamp Pad, and I wanted to incorporate the colors that Stampin' Up! Used in the design of this month's kit in this alternate card. So I stamped the diamond pattern a couple different times in those 2 different colors. And I took the Mint Macaron with this fun kind of swirly stamp. I don't know exactly the shape of it, but it's very interesting and it was kind of fun. And I kind of wanted to be as symmetrical as I could while still kind of maintaining a little bit of symmetry, I guess. So after I was done with those 2 stamps, I wanted to bring in that small flower stamp again. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that in a couple different places. And I decided to only stamp that one 3 times just so that it gave it a little bit more interest and it wasn't too symmetrical. I'm taking the happy birthday sentiment and a scrap piece of the gray card mat that was included in the kit, and I'm stamping on the white side so that I can trim it off, and it's going to be kind of like a banner on the top left of my card. I went ahead and popped it up with some dimensionals and stuck it down, letting it overhang, and then I flipped the card over and used my paper snips to trim the remaining bit off. I always sometimes risk going a little overboard with my decoration, so I tried really hard to keep this card as simple as possible. I wrapped some of this baker's twine around, and I added a few of the rhinestones. I opted not to add a bow because I almost always add a bow, so I wanted to be a little different, and I just have a simple knot with a couple of tails hanging out. And again, I'm putting those rhinestones on. I think I put 3 kind of scattered around the card. And finally, I grabbed the card base that has kind of a smoky slate gray colored texture to it. And then I decided that this card did need one more small element in the lower right hand corner. So I decided to grab this picture that was included in this month's kit, and I fussy cut 2 of the succulents in coffee cups out, or teacups. And I thought this was kind of like a fun, unique way to really make this design pop and stand out. So I was pretty happy with how it turned out. I glued the tall cactus one flat with some mini glue dots, and then I popped the other one up using the Stampin' Dimensionals. And I am pretty overboard when it comes to the dimensionals. I like to use a lot of them, but this month's kit was a little sparse in the dimensional department, so I recommend that you take care with those dimensionals if that's all you have. I have a whole stash of them, so I'm not too worried if I go a little overboard with mine. And then I just snailed it and put it onto my card base, and this card is all done. I really enjoyed this month's kit, and I hope you did too. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you take part in the blog hop, the Paper Pumpkin blog hop. Go down to the description box below and click on my coordinating blog hop link. You'll be able to go to my website and hop around to all of the other wonderfully talented demonstrators that are sharing their creative alternate projects for this month's kit. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye!